Hi everyone, this is Bonnie from Backward Story, and today's topic is anthologies. I don't know about you, but anthologies are not my favorite things in the world to read. I don't own many of them, which you wouldn't think looking at this pile right here. But these are all fairy tale, folklore related, so you can kind of understand why I have this many. But for the most part, I don't own very many anthologies at all. I don't always want to read every single book from the collections, and then when I do read them, either I love it so much that I wish it would keep going, or because I feel like it's too short, or because of the shorter format, the author does a rush job, and I feel like there's everything, including the kitchen sink, in the book, and that it feels too rushed and isn't very good because of that, when it really just needed a longer length. So I have a love-hate relationship with anthologies. That being said, there are several volumes that I want to focus on today that are making their way around that I think, as fellow fairy tale lovers, you might want to have in your collection. So let's take a look at the ones that I picked. I'm going to start with Rags and Bones, which is a brand new fairy tale anthology coming out in October, and it has been edited by Melissa Maura and Tim Pratt, and it's going to have authors such as Neil Gaiman and Carrie Ryan in it, and I'm looking forward to reading that and hope you are as well. There's no cover or official date or anything yet, but Harlequin Teen just announced that they are going to be putting together an anthology entitled GRIMM in 2014, and there is a great list of authors that you can see already on Goodreads, such as Kimberly Durting, who wrote The Body Finder and The Pledge, which I loved. It has Claudia Gray, it has Rachel Hawkins, it has Ellen Hopkins, it has Amanda Hawking, Julie Kagawa, Melinda Lowe, Myra McIntyre, Chandra Mitchell, Jackson Pierce, who, you know, she's written a million fairy tales, Sarah Reese Brennan, who is amazingly hilarious in person, Jerry Smith Reddy. The list is huge. I am so crazy excited for this. I like so many of the authors on this list, and I am going to need to buy this instantly the moment it comes out next year. Twisted Fairy Tales came out earlier this year, and I haven't gotten a hold of a copy yet, but it is by Maura McHugh, and she retells 20 different tales, and a lot of them have dystopian twists, and they're all considered to have a dark and dangerous heart. So this is one that I am intrigued about and sort of want to read. 2 and 20 Dark Tales. This one actually got a lot of attention last year. It was put together and the proceeds go to charity. And it has so many authors that you will recognize, and it's actually retellings of Mother Goose rhymes that are very dark, and I thought that was very interesting because it hasn't really been done before. But there are so many different authors that if you pick this up, you're going to recognize at least one of them if you follow YA at all. And I think it's really interesting that the tales are based on Mother Goose, because I have not seen that done before, and it's very interesting, and I really like the fact that the money's going to charity for this one. Oz Reimagined. This is a new one in my collection. I heard about it recently on Twitter because an author that I love, Rae Carson, she wrote the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, and it is a great fantasy. If you like sweeping, epic, high fantasy, you're going to want to read this trilogy of books. But she mentioned that she co-wrote a short story with her husband, and I immediately knew I wanted it. And I was just going to buy the individual story as an ebook for $2. And when I saw the list of all of the authors on there, I mean, they're a big name. I'm sure you've at least heard of Orson Scott Card and Tad Williams and Jane Yolen. And when I realized just how many authors were on here, I knew that I needed to buy the whole anthology. The pre-order price on the anthology was actually cheaper than buying the ebook copy, and I'm glad I did that now, because if you look at this picture, it is so unique, and it shows that Oz has been reimagined in every way possible. You have a cyborg Tin Man, a lion who looks very human, an anime-esque Dorothy, and then a hologram of the Scarecrow. And they're all different and unique. Some are dystopian, some are dreamlike, and all are undeniably Oz. And there's even a foreword by Gregory Maguire, so you know that this is going to be a good one to have in your collection, especially if you're a big fan of Oz. So definitely check it out, even though it's not a fairy tale. Wonders of the Invisible World by Patricia McKillip. These are all short stories by Patricia McKillip, and some of them are fairy tales and some of them are not. Patricia McKillip has written a lot of books over the years. I'd never actually heard about her until semi-recently when Sarah Moss, who had the Throne of Glass come out last year, had been talking about her on her blog after she got a publishing deal before her book came out. And I'd never heard of Patricia McKillip, and I was really drawn to some of the covers. Some of these covers are really, really pretty. They're kind of Greek, kind of fairy tale-esque, and I immediately wanted to read her. And I was lucky enough to find somebody on eBay selling a huge book bundle of just about all of her books. And there were a couple others that I was able to get for really cheap prices that weren't in the bundle. So I have almost a complete collection of Patricia McKillip's books, although I haven't read most of these yet. So I need to know which ones are the best to read myself because I've only read a couple, and they may not have been the best ones in the collection. But if you've never read her before, I would definitely maybe start with Wonders of the Invisible World because it is short stories that will introduce you to all of her books, which are not fairy tales, but they read like fairy tales. So I think to me that's always important. So I picked this up expecting fairy tales, and I was really excited when I saw that there was a mermaid on the cover, which I hadn't been expecting because you don't really see it in small print when you're looking at it on a computer, but in person, that is a mermaid. And so if you like Patricia McKillip, or if you've never read her before, which you should, this is a good way to start out and get a little taste of what she's all about. Once Upon a Curse. And I'm not sure if it's this ebook anthology or the next one. I want to say it's the next one, but I could be wrong. It could be this one. But one of them also has money going towards charity if you purchase it. And again, I think that's a really great thing to do, and I will always be supportive of that. Once Upon a Curse is darker. It is for adults more so than it is for children. And you have more evil lurking in it than you do some of the other fairy tales. And you've got some big names on here too, from the fantasy world: Peter Beagle, Patricia Reed. Some authors are brand new, others are ones you'll recognize. The cover is pretty fun on this one, and it's definitely good if you want something darker in your life that's fairy tale related, because too much of the time we don't have that, and fairy tales are actually very dark, and we've just sanitized them in today's world. So I like that element of this. Beyond Grimm is my second ebook anthology I'm focusing on, and again, I don't remember which of the two has money going towards charity. I want to say it's this one, but then I think about it and think about the bigger names in the other one, and I just can't remember properly anymore, and it doesn't say it in the summary. So I do apologize. One of them, it definitely has money going towards charity. Beyond Grimm, I actually am not too familiar with the authors on this one. I heard about it because I recently read Crown Duel, which is by Sherwood Smith, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to read other books by the author. And I was looking up information on the Nook and saw that she had a short story in this collection, and I said, Grimm, maybe I should read this. So a lot of this is new to me, and I'm still making my way through it, but I wanted to spotlight this. My Mother, She Killed Me, My Father, He Ate Me. There are 40 fairy tales in this anthology, and I'm sure you have heard of at least one of the authors. It's a mix of new people and best-selling people, and I mean, you've had to have at least heard of Neil Gaiman or Gregory Maguire or Joyce Carol Oates or Francine Prose, or there are so many authors. John Updike is in here. Francesca Leah Block is in here. There are so many different authors in this anthology that it would be silly not to pick it up, because sometimes there are just authors you can't get enough of, even if they are short stories. For example, Neil Gaiman and Gregory Maguire. So I think you should pick it up if you like even one of the authors, or even if you don't know any of the authors. It's 40 fairy tales, and some of them are actually really, really great. So I would definitely recommend checking into My Mother, She Killed Me, My Father, He Ate Me. Happily Ever After is another big name anthology with a mix of authors you know and authors you don't know. And you know what? Even with authors you don't know, you might know them in the future when something is published. When this first came out, nobody knew who Alethea Contis was, for example, because she'd really only done picture books until then. And her first YA novel, Enchanted, was phenomenal. It did really well last year. It got a lot of buzz. There's a sequel coming out this year called Hero. She's going to be stopping by for Fairy Tale Fortnight, and I wouldn't have known who she was when I first picked up the Happily Ever After anthology a couple of years ago, but that doesn't mean that she didn't write a spectacular story in it. Plus, it was mermaids, so, I would have been attracted to it either way, but if you pick up an anthology blind and you're just reading a couple of stories, you tend to gravitate towards the authors you know as opposed to the ones you don't know. And I think that sometimes with anthologies, that can be to the reader's detriment. So I always try to give readers I don't know a chance in addition to the ones I do know. And this one does have several authors you do know. Gregor Maguire's here again, Neil Gaiman's here again, Holly Black is here, Patricia Briggs is here, Susanna Clark and Garth Nix are here. So there's a lot of big names here again, ones that I'm sure you have heard of if you haven't read before. And if you've heard of an author and you kind of want to get into them, sometimes anthologies are a good way to get a taste of the writing style, even if the story can at times be rushed. So yeah, these are just a few of the many anthology volumes that exist in the world, and these ones are fairy tale and folklore related. So I thought they fit the theme of Fairy Tale Fortnight and wanted to share them with you so that you can get a nice taste of fairy tales in short formats. Especially if you're not a big reader, this might be good for someone who likes fairy tales but they don't like to read a lot. Short stories are much easier to undertake and consume, I think, and they would appreciate that as a gift, or I would at least if I wasn't a reader. And I would if I am a reader too, so, But that is all for today's post, and I will talk to you again soon. I hope you're having as much fun with Fairy Tale Fortnight as I am. Bye!